Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Rogers Place and the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame induction announcement for the class of 2019. My name is Brad Lyon. I'm the Senior Manager of Communications at Hockey Alberta. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me as your host for the next 20-25 minutes this afternoon. Today is a very special event on the Hockey Alberta calendar. The announcement of our annual induction class for the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame is an exciting day, as we can tell the hockey community in Alberta and beyond our borders about the individuals and teams who are being recognized for their contributions towards the growth and history of our great sport in this province. So just a couple of quick notes before we start. We obviously are in some fairly intimate surroundings here, so just the usual reminder, if you could make sure that your phones won't ring loudly during the event, that would be great. Thank you to the media members who are in attendance this afternoon. We will certainly make sure you have a chance to chat with the inductees once we're done. And thank you to the Oilers Entertainment Group for welcoming us here today. This is the first time that I'm aware of that we've done a live announcement of our induction class, and it couldn't have happened without the assistance and the cooperation of OEG. We're also pleased to have a number of special guests joining us today. We have on stage, we have 3 of our individual inductees, and we have 2 representatives from the teams that comprise the class of 2019. We will meet them and do some formal introductions in a few minutes. We have a few honored members from previous years' induction classes who have joined us. I believe in the audience we do have Al Hamilton from the class of 2015. And we have John Kozlowski. He's a board member with the Hockey Alberta Foundation, but he was also inducted last year as the head coach of the 1991 Canada Winter Games gold medal winning female hockey team. And we had another fairly successful Canada Winter Games gold medal winning female hockey team just last weekend. So very appropriate to recognize John being here as well today. We have a few Hockey Alberta staff members here. I'll single out Tim Lear because he hates being singled out. Tim is the Executive Director of the Hockey Alberta Foundation and is liaison on behalf of Hockey Alberta with the selection committee for the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. And representing the group that had to make some very tough decisions, we have 4 members from that Hall of Fame selection committee with us today. We have Brian Benning, Al Coates, Greg Pilling, and Drew Shamahorn. The Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee is where we'll start this afternoon. This group includes some very well-respected hockey people from across the province, and they are entrusted with the responsibility of making the tough decisions on which nominees are selected for induction each year. I'm going to ask Brian Benning to step forward to the podium here to say a few words on behalf of the selection committee.
Thank you. The Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame recognizes these individuals and groups and teams who have made a significant contribution to the game of hockey through regional, national, or international accomplishments, or who have contributed to the growth and development of the game in Alberta. As a board, we are proud of this year's group of inductees and that we get to honor so many here in person today. There is a lot of depth in Alberta's hockey talent. The event in July is a real celebration of bringing the Alberta hockey family together once a year to share stories, reconnect with old friends, and have family members meet the larger Alberta hockey family. Congratulations. Back to you, Brad.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you to the members of the selection committee for the hard work that was involved in making the decisions that have led us to be here this afternoon. So now it's time to meet the members of the 2019 induction class of the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. So the full biography for each of this year's inductees can be found at the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame's new website, AHHF.ca. So please check it out, not just for this year's induction class and some more information on them, but also for the full list of the more than 100 honored members who have been inducted since the Hall of Fame's inception in 1982. We're going to start with the two inductees who unfortunately were unable to join us today. The first is Shirley Cameron. Shirley is one of the most important individuals in the growth and development of women's hockey in Alberta, dating back to the early 1970s as a player, coach, and builder of the sport. Shirley was one of the founders of the Edmonton Chimos and the team's leader for more than 3 decades. She captained the team her entire playing career from 1974 to 1992. She also served as coach, manager, and director of operations for the Chimos when they played in the Western Women's Hockey League. The 1983-84 Chimos were inducted into the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame in 2006, making Shirley one of the few two-time inductees into the Hall. The other inductee who could not join us today is Bob Ridley. As sports director for Chat TV and Radio, Bob has spent 50 years covering and promoting amateur sports in Medicine Hat and surrounding area. Bob has been an integral part of the Medicine Hat Tigers Hockey Club of the Western Hockey League since the team's inception in 1970. Since day one, Bob has been the play-by-play voice for the Tigers, only missing one broadcast in over 3,900 games. And I guess since he spent so much time there, it's only fitting that the press box at the Canalta Centre in Medicine Hat has been named the Bob Ridley Broadcast Centre. Now, as if the broadcasting side wasn't enough, since 1972, Bob's also done double duty for the team, also serving as the team's bus driver. And the reason there was a 2-year gap is apparently they didn't buy the bus until 1972. So congratulations to Shirley Cameron and Bob Ridley on their induction into the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. So the next inductee that we'll recognize is actually 2 teams, the 1986-87 and 1987-88 Medicine Hat Tigers. These editions of the Tigers are the only Alberta junior hockey teams to win back-to-back Memorial Cups, and Medicine Hat is one of only 8 organizations in the Cup's 100-year history to win back-to-back titles. The 1986-87 squad defeated Portland to win the Western Hockey League title and advanced to the Memorial Cup in Oshawa, Ontario. The Tigers were led by tournament MVP Wayne McBean and top goaltender Mark Fitzpatrick as they defeated the host Generals 6-2 to win the Cup. The 1987-88 squad ousted Kamloops to win the WHL title and returned to the Memorial Cup, this time in Chicoutimi, Quebec. Medicine Hat eked out a 7-6 victory over the Windsor Spitfires for their second national title. Again, Fitzpatrick was named the top goaltender, with Rob DeMaio earning tournament MVP honors. Familiar names on these rosters included future NHLers, such as Trevor Linden, Dean Chanuth, Rocky Dundas, Mark Fitzpatrick, Rob DeMaio, Wayne McBean, Neil Brady, and Neil Wilkinson, and there's probably a few others scattered on those 2 rosters. We're pleased to welcome today 2 representatives of the Medicine Hat Tigers. Scott McCready, who manned the blue line both seasons, and according to the hockeydb.com, tallied a total of 153 regular season points during those 2 seasons, and another 42 in the playoffs. We're also joined today by Daryl Henry, who looked after public relations and was the color commentator for the team and played for the team a couple of years before that. So we have Scott and Daryl, and basically would ask Scott and Daryl maybe if talk about just a memory or 2 that you have from those 2 great teams.
Well, you know, back in those days, prior to us winning back-to-back, I think the only team that had done it was the Barry Beck, Stan Smeal, New Westminster Bruins. So to do it was Don Cherry always said it was the toughest thing to win in sports and hockey was the Memorial Cup. It's such a long year and a long drain on everybody. And to do it back-to-back was great. And then to have some of the guys that were on that team that are, really still involved in the game, whether it's Ryan McGill coaching in Las Vegas or, Trev, was in the game for a long time, or, Chanel's in Carolina, so Robbie DeMiles in St. Louis. So to see some of those guys still involved in the game, and what's been great about this, and I really appreciate Alberta Hockey Alberta and the Hall of Fame and inducting us is the fact that reaching out to all those guys, it's such a small group. When you reconnect, it's like you never missed a beat. So it's just, you know, it's great. We're honored to go in, especially with the class we're going in with. It's special. There are 5 guys on our team actually played with Theo at the World Juniors in '88, and I was lucky enough, Theo and I, to win a gold medal in '88. So, you know, we're excited to go in with this group, and it's just a real honor.
Great, and I think as well, thank you to Alberta Hockey and the opportunity to be involved with such a nomination. You know, looking back, it's funny how you get older and it just comes back to you for some of us who are getting up in age. And you know what, to be involved with the Western Hockey League, to play, and then realize in my particular case that maybe a professional career wasn't going to happen for me, and a good mentor of ours, and we always stay in touch, is Russ Farwell. And I bring up Russ's name. A lot of folks here would know who Russ is, and you know, he's really the mastermind to putting this whole couple of teams together. And for the folks that realize that junior hockey, there's a lot of turnover with some of the great players. To be able to do it again with something else, I've got some really fond memories for being a young color commentator with Bob Ridley, who unfortunately isn't here today. I can remember throwing a pencil out of the press box in Saskatoon one night because I thought it was a bad call. The refs would really never ever make the right call. Is that the case? Probably not. But anyways, a couple things that stand out outside of the fact that it was a great group of young gentlemen who went on to wonderful careers, and a lot of those players were drafted very high. Couple things we were talking about with Theron today. I hope he's okay with us saying this publicly. As I remember at trading deadline, it would always be, let's get a bucket of chicken and let's see who we can get to do the final push. And one year during those cup drives, we thought we were pretty close to getting Theo Flurry, and unfortunately the deal fell through, and Russ said, well, at the final minute it didn't happen. Theron just told me this afternoon, he said no. I didn't know that. So the other funny story was that we actually played Moose Jaw in the first round the one year, and the truth of the matter is that I think they were pretty close to beating us, but their ice plant broke down and we had to play Game 6 as a neutral game in Regina. I think you guys would always remember that, and I think because it was neutral, we were successful, unfortunately, in Theron's case, to win that one. So, but anyways, we really sincerely appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much.
So thank you, Scott and Daryl, and obviously congratulations to the 2 teams, the 1986-87 and 1987-88 Medicine Hat Tigers. So our next inductee has played a tremendous role in the development of on-ice officials over more than 4 decades of involvement in hockey in Alberta. Edmonton's Duncan MacDougall started as an on-ice official when he attended his first clinic in 1974 or 75 at the Northwest Community Athletic Club. Since then, Duncan has officiated various levels of minor hockey in the Edmonton area and worked as a linesman and referee at all levels of minor hockey, from novice to juvenile AA to junior B in the Edmonton area, including 9 provincial playoffs and Edmonton City playoffs up to as recently as this year. Off the ice, Duncan has been instrumental in developing the officiating program at the grassroots level in Edmonton and has contributed to the overall program in various capacities, including as a clinic instructor since 1985. We've got Duncan in the middle of the stage, where I believe the officials should be. And Duncan, if you actually maybe share a memory or two from your 4 decades of wearing the striped shirt.
I'd just like to thank Hockey Alberta and the foundation, and as well the Oilers Entertainment Group for hosting this event, and the committee for thinking of a referee. We like to stay out of the limelight, and this was very humbling when I found out about this. I couldn't really believe it. I've spent most of my career working at the grassroots level. 2 Saturdays ago, I went and watched 2 novice 6 games and watched 2 13-year-olds and a 14-year-old, I guess 3 13-year-olds and a 14-year-old referee the hockey games, and talked to them afterwards, and there were 2 of them that are got lots of potential, so maybe in 10 years they'll be doing very well. The people I've met have been extraordinary. I like to look, I think, for people who are not only going to be good on the ice, but are going to be good off the ice and can be representative of our program, but also of the overall hockey program. And I think in Edmonton, the hockey officiating program that we have is really superb. Obviously, you can throw darts at anybody on any given occasion, but our group works very hard, and we have some very, very strong officials come out of Edmonton in the last couple of decades. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've met a lot of nice people. I look around the room here, and there's people I've met before. I was quite surprised to see some of them here today, but it's been a great run, and it's not going to end this summer. It'll be going on for a while yet. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Duncan, and congratulations on your induction into the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. Our next inductee was one of the most competitive players on the ice over the course of his 15-year National Hockey League career. Theo Flurry played with the Calgary Flames for 11 seasons from 1988 to 1998 and was an important part of their Stanley Cup championship in 1989. He led the team in regular season, scoring 6 times and 5 times in the playoffs. His NHL career also included stops in Colorado, New York, and Chicago. Theo also represented Canada on several occasions, winning gold medals at the 1988 World Junior Championships, 1991 Canada Cup, and 2002 Olympic Games. While Theo enjoys his hockey memories and accolades, he feels honored and blessed in what he does today. Theo has been awarded the Canadian Humanitarian Award, the Queen's Jubilee Medallion, and is an honorary chief and a recipient of the Aboriginal Inspire Award. He has also been awarded 2 honorary doctorates for his contributions to mental health and combating child sexual abuse. Theo's mission statement is to help as many people as possible get to where they want to go. It has taken shape in many forms, whether meeting people for a brief moment on the street or as an inspirational speaker with the intention of creating healing through conversation. Theo?
Wow, thank you. Is this working? Is this on? There we go. Thank you very much to the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame for this amazing honor. You know, I came to Calgary January 1st, 1989 as a guy that wasn't supposed to play 1 game in the National Hockey League, and you know, I had the odds stacked against me, but I came to an organization that you know, was a real good fit for me. They were a big, strong, tough team, and they were looking for a guy that could provide some spark and the odd goal here and there, and so it was great to be a part of that organization. And then, you know, 6 months later, we're carrying the Stanley Cup around the Montreal Forum, which was pretty incredible. You know, I think as a kid, you know, you dream about making the NHL, and then when you dream about when you get to the NHL, you dream about winning Stanley Cups, and I did that in the first 6 months of my pro hockey career. And what was really funny about the story was the Moose Jaw Warriors, who I was playing for, came to me at the trade deadline and said, "We got a trade for you to go to Medicine Hat." And the reason why I said no was I signed my first pro contract, and I knew at the end of the season that I was going to Salt Lake at the end of our season. And so that turned out really well because we won the Turner Cup that spring in Salt Lake. And so, you know, I traded a Memorial Cup for an International Hockey League championship. And so, but I find it quite ironic that this announcement is happening in Edmonton, in the same place where the Oilers play. And I'm sitting beside a guy who we had several stick swinging incidents on many occasions in front of Grant Fear, who's up there. And you know, my first game that I played against the Oilers was in Calgary on Hockey Night in Canada, and I scored my first 2 NHL goals against Grant Fear in that game. And I think that was probably the biggest reason why I stayed a Calgary Flame was because I played really well against, you know, the Oilers. But, you know, the Oilers also had a whole bunch of really competitive guys that played for them, and it just made me a better player. I had to elevate my game to another level, and so, you know, we have a tremendous amount of mutual respect for each other, because I think we made you guys better, you guys made us better, and unfortunately, you know, we always had to play each other in the playoffs, and they should have been Stanley Cup Finals instead of Smythe Division, you know, championships. And so, and ironically, I married a girl from Edmonton, if you can believe that. My wife, Elle, is here in the audience, and she was a big Oilers fan. So when Flames and Oilers play now, it's we sit on the other side of the couch and watch the games. But, you know, I would have never dreamed, you know, as a young man, that, you know, I would have had the career and I would have had the success that I did. But, you know, it's amazing the people that you run into along the way that, you know, make you not only a better hockey player, but they make you a better person. And you know, it's funny that all the old Oiler trainer guys are here, because we were together at different Hockey Canada things, and so, you know, it's just a real honor for me to be here and to share the podium with my good buddy Scotty McCready. You know, that World Junior thing in Moscow was pretty cool, and you know, people often ask me about, you know, what is it like to win? And I remember they brought us all to Ottawa for a reunion. I can't remember what year that was. It was the Tavares year, and they gave us a hospitality room in the hotel, and other than the fact that we had to go to different events, we were basically spent the whole weekend in the hospitality room, and it was like we were beamed back to Moscow, because every guy remembered every story, every game, every hit, every goal, and that's what's really cool about it. And then I remember, you know, our 25th anniversary of the Stanley Cup in Calgary. On the Friday, they brought us all back into the old dressing room, and the dressing room was set up exactly the way it was in 1989. And within 3 minutes, every single guy was back in the role that they were in when they were playing on the team in 1989. So, you know, I look forward to this summer in Canmore, and, you know, look forward to bringing my family, my kids, and my dad, and my mom, and it should be an amazing evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Theo, both for your ongoing work to help create a better society and on your induction into the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. Our final inductee, I don't think needs a whole lot of introduction within the walls of this building or within the city of Edmonton. Kevin Lowe is a pillar of the Edmonton community and one of the key leaders who built the Edmonton Oilers into a Stanley Cup dynasty team. As a defenseman, he was a solid positional player in his own zone, a team leader, and an astute playmaker on offense. His leadership on and off the ice was a major component of Cup championships in both Edmonton and New York. Kevin was the Oilers' first ever draft pick when he was selected 21st overall in the 1979 NHL Amateur Draft. He also scored the first goal in Oilers team history in the first period of Edmonton's first NHL game on October 10th, 1979 at the Chicago Stadium. During 19 years in the NHL, including 15 with Edmonton, Kevin played 1,254 regular season games and 214 playoff games, winning 6 Stanley Cup championships. His notable work in the community was acknowledged in 1990 when he won the King Clancy Memorial Trophy and was named the NHL's Man of the Year, becoming the only player to win both in the same season. Both awards are presented for leadership qualities and humanitarian contributions. Today, Kevin serves as Vice Chair of Oilers Entertainment Group and remains a pillar of the Edmonton community through his work with the Christmas Bureau of Edmonton, of which he has been an honorary co-chair since 2005. Kevin Lowe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I don't know about the astute playmaking part. I think the astuteness there was to get it to Anderson and Messier and Gretzky, usually off the glass, and we get a few points that way. It's really an honor. It's an honor to be up here with all these guys. I just found out that well, Duncan and I are members of the Mayfair Golf Club, so I think this gives us tea time privileges now, right, Duncan? Absolutely. But it's, I'll tell you why it's an honor, besides the obvious. So when Drew Shamahorn, and I thank the members of the voting committee, a number of them are good friends of mine, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I asked Drew, I said, well, you know, isn't that for Albertans? And I kind of caught myself because I was born and grew up in Quebec. But as I was saying that to Drew, I realized I've spent 2/3 of my life here in Edmonton. I'll be 60 next month. I've been 40 years. It's my 40th year in the NHL. And I don't know when it was that things changed for me as far as I used to say to people, you know, they'd say, well, you know, where are you from? I said, well, I grew up in Quebec, but I live in Edmonton. And it was probably about 20 years ago where I stopped saying that. I'm an Albertan and a very proud Albertan. And you know, to think how fortunate I've been from the time I was drafted here. I could have gone to many other teams. I ended up here. A guy by the name of Gretzky was here. Mark Messier, we became great friends. And of course, you know, people recognize the success we had, but really, and Theo alluded to, was the friendships. I think the reason why this is such an honor for me is that I was fortunate to have dinners at Doug and Mary Jean Messier's place on Sunday nights, roast beef dinner. And I would hear about hockey history here in Alberta, the Flyers, the Mercuries, the Oil Kings. Some of that royalty is here, Greg Pilling, Al Hamilton. I mean, I grew up listening to Doug Messier and Larry Messier tell stories about those guys, Len Lundy, and never envisioned, I mean, forget the fact that we won cups, but to me, that was the greatness. That was the special thing about being here in Alberta. And when I got the call, all those things flashed through my mind, that those great people. Lyle Kulczycki is hockey greatness here in Alberta because, you know, he goes way back, as is my brother Kenny and Barry Stafford. And, you know, they won championships and international things. But, you know, Bill Hunter, all those things, that's what I think about when I'm going in the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm thinking about hockey greatness in this province, of which I feel that I am not born and raised, but certainly raised and will always be an Albertan. So thank you for being here, and I really look forward to the summer.
Thank you, Kevin, and congratulations on your induction into the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2019 induction class to the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. So at this time, that will conclude the formal portion